more of a wait. We're here for the gangway, and the gangway is about a long way. No, I'm not kidding about it being a long way. Oh, God. We've still got this long stretch to go. Do I see out this door, maybe? I don't know. Nope, it's hard to see with the light. Maybe once we get to this turn. It just goes on. We've got to get to the terminal somehow. But I didn't expect it to be so far away. I realize I haven't done a whole lot of walking yet today, but I think I just doubled my steps. Okay, I didn't quite double my steps, but pretty close. Got 1,000 of them in. And from that you can tell I hadn't done a whole lot of walking beforehand. Still, we're up, loaded up on the bus and ready to go because it's going to take a bus to get into the city center no matter how you slice it. Good news is, it is no longer raining. Or as one of our hostesses put it, no more liquid sunshine. After some driving around, and there's been quite a bit of it, we finally arrived at the top of the hill here where the old windmill exists. This is literally the oldest building in all of the state of Queensland from 1824, when it was still called Morad Bay and was still a penal colony. They do make an effort to try and preserve as much of their heritage as they can. Our tour guide's been talking about how this building and that building is heritage listed, and nothing can be done to it apart from preservation. It does make you wonder how they're going to be able to build up the city, and indeed she's complained about the fact that Brisbane is subject to urban sprawl, but you know, when the center of the city has all this stuff that's now heritage listed, where is somebody going to build? They're just going to keep going out and out and out. I'm not sure that that's what's happening, but that seems like the logical result. Still, they do have some heritage to list, and they do their best to honor it too. So take that how you will. And this I just picked up off the ground, which I presume fell from this tree. It's not the sort of thing you'd see back at home, and this is not the sort of thing I can take any further than the bus. But I thought I'd just bring it to your attention so that you get to see it. Well, wouldn't you know it? Just as we get to the top of Mount Coot-tha, that liquid sunshine starts pouring down once again. If you're not Australian, you'd probably swear it was rain. So, I am hiding out under cover at the moment for the next 15-20 minutes. Waiting to see if it does settle down. At the moment, there's no point in going up there. It is actually so cloudy and so rainy that you couldn't see anything from here anyway. And to think just 10 minutes ago, it wouldn't have been a problem. This is how it goes. Whereas meanwhile, I'm hanging out with another coach party from somewhere completely else. Oh well. Well, this is the best I can do. The view from Mount Coot-tha. The rain's let up just a little bit. Had a few nice chats with a couple of Indian nationals that have moved here, as well as trying to communicate with I'm going to say, an entire class trip from Japan. A lot of people show up here. This is a big tourist destination, and yet they can't control the weather here any more than anywhere else. So this is the best I can do in terms of the view of Brisbane from the big mountain. I will present it to you with limited comment because there's not a whole lot to say, because there's not a whole lot to see. Actually, you can see most of it. It's just I can't point anything out, and it's still fairly cloudy. It can't be helped. It is what it is. Some cities suffer from being rained on when we're here, but this is when we're here, and this is what we get. It is still a vast sweep of a picture, isn't it? It still blows my mind that this is all still considered part of Brisbane, and yet at the same time, this is also considered bush, which is that much further out. It's not even suburbia. We're outside of the city by a long way, and yet they still call it Brisbane. The city itself encompasses like 6,000 square miles, but at the same time it's this feeling like, where do you get off calling this part of the city? And I had the same problem understanding the whole business with Sydney. And I guess I'm in no position to criticize how anybody draws their boundary lines, but it does still puzzle me a little bit. Someday somebody's going to explain it to me, but by then it's going to be too late. I'm here to state my own opinions without fear and without research. You tend to think of Australian cities as just being by the coast, and while that's not entirely untrue, there's more to it than that. Brisbane certainly is built along a river, and it leans into that much more than it does the ocean. And you can see the Brisbane River right behind me in various directions from here. Really quite the sight, honestly. No sign of the ocean at all. I'm mildly embarrassed to have to admit that I didn't realize that this was where the shuttle stop was, and I was trying to collect my things and could not get out in time. And the next thing I knew, they'd driven off. And then when they came to another stop, I'm like, can I get out here and walk my way back? Oh, we'll just circle back. I didn't really mean to ask for that, but at least they were willing to do that so that I know where I need to be, rather than having to try and find my way and possibly get lost. Which, you know, in the middle of the steel and glass canyon that is the city, and yes, we're finally in the city, I could easily find myself doing. We're just a little ways down from Cathedral Square, where most of the main churches were, and still are for the most part. Although, when that includes a Masonic temple, I'm not sure how that counts. But it is at least a very obvious place to get to. I'm gonna wander around. I've got some money burning a hole in my pocket. I don't expect to be able to spend it in Arley Beach, and I'm not sure about Cairns either. So let's find my way around, and I've got until 3 o'clock for the last shuttle, and I probably ought to move faster than that, frankly. The bus dropped me off at Anzac Square, which I've crossed here and realizing is dedicated to the Queenslanders who have served the Crown and country in the various wars, especially those of the 20th century. They even have sculptures of a more recent vintage that are in honor of the more indigenous population that have also served. As much as I regret the idea of being a little snarky from time to time, and as much as I understand that the Brits and all of their fellow Commonwealth members are a patriotic lot, I think this could have benefited from a comma. Unlike in Busan, the underground passageways are to bypass the traffic and, I presume, to stay out of the rain. I don't know how common this is. And now I've come up to Post Office Square, which I'm not looking for a post office, but it looks like it's enclosed, so yay! We've got an indoors to work with. I can live with this. For the moment, I'm going to content myself with trying to just stay out of the rain a little bit. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Because I've only got about an hour and a half before I need to catch the last shuttle. I've got to see my way around, maybe find a bite to eat, and do all this without getting myself too soaked. You can see that the camera's gotten a little damp already. I promised myself that I'd leave a little bit of you everywhere I go if I can. And I'll be honest, there doesn't seem to be too many places I can leave you here in Brisbane. It was a bit of a mess up there at the top of Mount Cootha, so that sort of went by the boards. And even here seems a little bit odd, back in Anzac Square. But with the sun shining and all that, it seems like a good idea to, as long as there's a fountain here, hopefully it won't cause too much of a problem to put a few grains in. So, there you are. If I find some place in the next hour before I get a bus, which I really don't expect to, since I'm in the middle of the city, I'll try and do another memorial, but I can't promise anything. And at least you've got a home here in Brisbane now. So, it's even a memorial site, albeit, you know, you didn't fight in a war or anything like that. Your dad did, so maybe on his behalf you can say, you know, represent the Navy by proxy. I don't know. Still, welcome to Brisbane, hon. Take a look around when you get up. Okay, so I ran out of time. Actually, I didn't have much time to run out of. I got up to the top of Anzac Square, found a bus waiting already, asked the guy holding the buses how often they came by, and whether I'd have time to do a little bit more shopping, and he suggested, you best wait until the next stop. So, I've got way too much Aussie dollars in my pocket. The shopping list a bit longer than I'd like it to be, but when you're out of time, you're out of time. You just gotta shrug and be glad that you've made the decisions you have, because there's no undoing them, there is no second take. That's how it is. Anyway, now I get to ride back to the ship and find out just how easy or difficult it is to get back on now that it's a whole different cruise. It may be the same for me, it may be the same for the Niners, but it's now Brisbane to Hong Kong and it's no longer LA to Brisbane. So everything starts over again. And here we go. So with that being said, honey, keep an eye on me, wish me luck. I think I'm gonna need it. Honestly, I can't complain about the bureaucracy other than having to hand my passport in and not see it again for a while. Hopefully that's not going to be an issue going forward. Thus far, I haven't had too much of a problem with it, so it should be okay. But yeah, since they're only coming in a busload at a time, it's fairly zip-zap rather than everybody showing up at once, like it used to be back in the day. As it is, it's just as well I got on the shuttle bus as I did, because once we were underway, the rain started up again. It really was a very much sunshiny one moment, rainy the next, and I got my bite to eat while it was raining, could step outside when it was sunny, do a little bit of walking around, not much unfortunately. I'm still not even at a 6,000 steps for the day, but don't worry, I'm walking through the terminal. It's gonna take me another 1,000 just to get to the ship. Not that I mind too terribly, I need it. And so with all that being said and done, I'm actually curious to find out whether I've added another 1,000 just walking through the terminal. Sooner or later, I'm gonna get to the ship here. Oh, here we go.